Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's training Cultural Variables in Practice Building Cultural Humility in ABA. I'm Tiara Bell, and I'm excited to talk about how understanding and honoring cultural differences can improve our clinical work, strengthen partnerships with families, and support meaningful behavior change. By the end of this training, you will be able to define cultural variables and cultural humility in applied behavior analysis, understand how culture influences client behavior and service delivery, reflect on personal cultural lens and implicit bias, apply strategies to practice cultural humility, and engage in cultural responsive practices. Today, we'll be discussing cultural variables, cultural humility, why it matters in applied behavior analysis. Then, we'll have a group discussion. Then we'll talk about self reflection and personal bias, best practices for cultural humility. Then we'll have a short quiz. And then for the closing, I will introduce our resource materials. And we also have handouts to help you follow along with the presentation. So, what are cultural variables? Cultural variables include the customs, language, communication styles, values, and norms that shape a person's worldview and behavior. In ABA, these elements influence how clients and families interact with providers, respond to interventions, and view treatment goals. For example, some families expect strict structure and clear hierarchy, while others value decision making. Understanding these nuances can help us align our approach with what feels natural and respectful to them. So, what is cultural humility? Cultural humility is a lifelong process of self reflection and a learning process. Cultural humility is different from cultural competence. It is not about becoming an expert in every culture, it is about being open minded and reflective. It means asking thoughtful questions, listening without judgment, and acknowledging when we do not know something. Most importantly, it is about creating respectful partnerships with clients and families where we recognize that they are experts in their own lives and experiences. Some of you may be asking, why does this matter in ABA? When we overlook cultural context, we are risking providing services that feel disconnected, irrelevant, or even disrespectful to the families we work with. This can lead to poor engagement, inconsistent implementation, or outright rejection of treatment. When we deliver services that are responsive to a family's values and traditions, they are more likely to trust us, collaborate fully, and stick with the treatment plan. That leads to better outcomes for our families and it's more rewarding for us. All right, let's do a quick thought exercise. Let's have a quick group discussion. A family has chosen not to adopt your token system, opting instead to focus on prayer or religious affirmations as means of support and encouragement. Together, let's discuss this. What cultural values might influence this decision? How could you collaborate with the family effectively? How can you adapt in an ethical manner? Take a moment to jot down your ideas or talk through this with your team after the training. Now, let's talk about self reflection and implicit bias. Every one of us brings our own cultural lens to the table. Our experiences with language, religion, gender roles, and family norms influence how we interpret behavior, give feedback, and build relationships. Cultural identity shapes our communication and decision making. It reflects on assumptions and implicit bias. It's important to ask a few questions. How does my background shape my communication style? Do I unconsciously favor certain approaches because they align with my values? How can I pause and reflect when something feels wrong to me in a section? In your provided reflection worksheet, we have various questions just like these. Use it as a tool to deepen your understanding of how your own culture influences your work. Best practices for cultural humility. So, what can we do? We can start by asking families open ended cultural questions during the intake process and treatment planning. A few questions could include: what does a successful session look like for you? Or what are some important routines in your household? We can use materials that reflect the client's background, whether through language, imagery, or examples. We can adjust reinforcers and prompts to fit family values. And always be willing to change your approach if something isn't working culturally. Also, remember that it's about the client. This isn't about the clients. Supervisors, co-workers, and students all bring their own cultural perspectives as well. Now let's have a little quiz. For this quiz, we have a cultural matchup where we will match a cultural variable to a clinical strategy. First, we have language barriers. What communication strategies could you use? For language barriers, we could use visuals and confirm understanding. Next, we have beliefs on independence. For beliefs on independence, how might that change your goal setting? You would just have to align that with your treatment goals. And last, we have traditional gender roles. Who might be the primary decision maker? We would ask who supports the therapy decisions. Now, these are all real life factors that we encounter every day. Learning to adjust thoughtfully and respectfully is what sets the culturally humble professionals apart. Cultural humility is a process, not a destination. It requires us to stay reflective, curious, and humble. Cultural humility improves clinical effectiveness and equity. Continue reflecting and learning with every client interaction. When we take the time to learn our clients' values and traditions, and when we adapt our approach to honor them, we become better clinicians and stronger advocates for meaningful change. Don't forget to explore the tools in your handouts that were provided to you earlier in the session in the training. We have a quick reference guide for common scenarios, a reflection worksheet to support your personal growth, a checklist to guide culturally aligned practices, and a form with the relevant BACB ethics codes to the training. Here we have all of the references that we've collected to create this training. Thank you all for attending this training today, and thank you for your commitment to providing respectful and person centered ABA services.